This is the perfect video if you would like to avoid creating charts like this one. Or perhaps this one. And especially this one. Being able to choose the right type of chart for the data you are working with is not an exact science. But I'm sure you will agree something went wrong with these examples. One can't be certain whether they have been taken from a horror movie or a hippie fest. In 99.9% of cases, we don't want to show this to our audience. Charts are an opportunity, a storytelling tool, a chance to make convincing argument through visualizing data. We are not going to convince anybody if we choose a type of chart that is not the right fit for the data. To help you overcome or avoid this issue, in this video, we'll discuss A, the different types of charts, and B, the type of data they are suitable for. Bar charts. Probably the most frequently used type of chart is the basic bar chart. As its name suggests, it is composed of a series of bars illustrating a variable's development. Given that bar charts are so common, people are generally familiar with them and can understand them easily. Examples like this one are straightforward to read. However, please be aware that bar charts can be confusing too, especially if one uses them to compare several variables. I personally believe that a comparison of more than two variables with a clustered bar chart becomes too cluttered. Here is an example of a clustered bar chart that is not exactly crystal clear. This isn't a horrible visualization, but it leaves plenty to be desired. First of all, it is difficult to follow the trend of all 5 variables simultaneously, isn't it? Moreover, it is hard to gain an idea about the overall state of the fiction book sales market and how it changed, which was probably what the person who created the chart wanted to show in the first place. When to use bar charts. So, bar charts are nice, but limited. We have to consider the type of data we want to visualize and the number of variables that will be added to the chart. Bar charts are great when we want to track the development of 1 or 2 variables over time. For example, one of the most frequent applications of bar charts in corporate presentations is to show how a company's total revenues have developed during a given period. A bar chart can be used to make both a year-on-year comparison and to provide a monthly breakdown. Moreover, bar charts can be pretty intuitive when we compare the development of 2 numerical variables over time. Let's say we would like to compare the revenues of 2 companies in the time frame between 2014 and 2018. When to avoid using bar charts. Simple bar charts are far from ideal in situations when we have several variables and all of them are part of a whole, such as the case in the fiction book sales chart we showed you. There were 5 categories: young adult, classics, mystery, romance, and sci-fi, all of which account for all fiction books, meaning their sum gives us the total volume of the fiction book sales market. Do we get any of this information with this bar chart? We don't. It simply shows us multiple lines, and one has to start making calculations on their own to understand how numbers developed over time. And if they have to do that, why bother creating a chart? We are better off showing the data in a table format, right? So, this certainly is one case where we should use a different type of chart. Along the same lines, a simple bar chart isn't suitable when we have a single period breakdown of a variable. If I want to portray the main business lines that contributed to a company's revenues in 2018, I wouldn't use a bar chart. Instead, I'd create a pie chart or one of its variations. Pie charts. A pie chart is a circular graph divided into slices. The larger a slice is, the bigger portion of the total quantity it represents. When to use a pie chart. So, pie charts are best suited to depict sections of a whole. What does that mean? If a company operates 3 separate divisions, at year-end its top management would be interested in seeing what portion of total revenue each division accounted for. A pie chart is perfect for this case. However, we need to be certain that the sum of the proportions makes 100% of the total. That is, we cannot afford to forget any of the 3 divisions contributing to total revenue. When to avoid pie charts. Obviously, we can't use a pie chart in situations when we would like to show how a variable or multiple variables develops over time. Pie charts are a definite no-go in these cases. Moreover, as mentioned earlier, a pie chart would be misleading if we don't consider all values. In the context of our example from earlier, we shouldn't create a pie chart that includes revenue of only 2 of the firm's 3 divisions. Donut charts. Donut charts are basically pie charts with a hole in the middle. It is as if their heart is missing. When to use donut charts. The use cases of pie and donut charts are identical. The only important difference is that donut charts allow us to indicate the total amount by adding a text box in the middle. If you use a pie chart, you will have to include the total amount elsewhere, like adding it to the title. When to avoid using donut charts. We already explained when to avoid using pie charts. The same is valid for donut charts. One piece of advice when choosing whether to include a pie or a donut chart would be to think of your audience. How likely is it they would be interested in seeing the total figure for breakdown you were providing? If the split itself is more important, then go ahead and use a pie chart. If the value of the total is important too, then perhaps a donut chart would be preferable. Moreover, some studies have shown that people tend to get a distorted idea when shown pie charts, as larger portions can look even more so because they cover more space. With donut charts, this isn't as much of an issue. Line charts. A line chart is, as one can easily imagine, a line or multiple lines showing how single or multiple variables develop over time. It is a great tool because we can easily highlight the magnitude of change of one or more variables over a period. When to use line charts. Remember the awkward fiction book sales chart we saw earlier? Well, a simple line chart would have been way better in that case. A line chart allows us to track the development of several variables at the same time. It is very easy to understand, and the reader doesn't feel overwhelmed. When to avoid line charts. Line charts are not that great in situations when you want to show how the individual parts of a whole change over time. Yes, in theory, one could use a stacked line chart, where line values accumulate, or a 100% stacked line chart, where lines accumulate to 100%, but a stacked area chart would look better. Area charts. Area charts are very similar to line charts. In fact, at first, I wanted to show them together. However, one major confusion could have arisen. So, please pay attention. The idea of an area chart is based on the line chart. Colored regions, areas, show us the development of each variable over time. There are 3 types of area charts: regular area chart, stacked area chart, and 100% stacked area chart. When to use an area chart. Whenever we want to show how the parts of a whole change over time, we should consider an area chart. So, for example, if the company has 3 revenue-generating divisions, it is very likely that management would like to see the development of each of these divisions. This is a great way to draw attention to the total value and still emphasize an important trend. Say, revenues from one division have been growing rapidly, while the other two have kept the same level. A stacked area chart is perfect in this case. However, if we are interested in the portion of revenue generated by each division and not that much in the total amount of revenues, we can simply use a 100% stacked area chart. This will show each division's percentage contribution over time. When to avoid area charts. Obviously, similar to line charts, area charts are not suitable for representing parts of a whole over a single period. In our example, we can't use an area chart to show the proportion of revenues each division generated in, say, 2018 alone. So that's a situation where we can't use an area chart. In general, I would say stay away from the classical area chart too. It can be very confusing, and even Microsoft themselves recommend avoiding it and to consider using a simple line chart. If we wanted to show the development of revenues generated by each of the firm's divisions over time with a simple area chart, we could have something like this. I know, a nightmare. So, to recap, line and area charts function in a strange symbiosis between each other. It is recommended to use the line chart, stacked area chart, and 100% stacked area chart. We should avoid using area chart, stacked line chart, and 100% line chart. Okay, great! We are doing really well. Let's make a short pause here, and in our next video, we will discuss tree map, bridge, scatter, and histogram charts. Make sure you don't miss it because it is a great one.